It's a very good film, and
It had some really solid, amazing information in it. Most of it I was familiar with, but there was a couple of things there that I hadn't come across before. It was good to see they included some work by Glenn Clancy in there. Glenn Clancy is another Australian young journalism student. Jack, you may have met him actually. He actually was involved in some of our 9/11 events.
who's this?
A guy from Melbourne by the name of Glenn Clancy, and he made a movie called Fool Me Twice.
Oh yeah, yes,
and he's actually in the Expendable movie as well.
Yeah, I saw that. I spoke to Clancy. I was supposed to interview him. Fool Me Twice is an awesome film. But he sort of went underground for a while. I didn't hear from him, and then he's popped up again. He does a lot of Australian thing, which he's done the Bali bombing. And the relationship with Indonesia. So he was well versed in that.
He's actually studying journalism.
So is it accessible on the YouTube just by Googling Expendable movie?
Absolutely, yeah. Just go expendable.tv is the website. So if you put in the Expendable Project, it's probably better than just putting Expendable into Google because you're probably not going to get it. But just put
Expendable Project.
Yeah. I've got John has come up on the Skype, so he'll be coming on very soon. I think I've got him on now. Let's have a listen. I'll just go over that. John, can you hear us, mate?
Yeah, it's raining really heavily here, so I can't hear you.
Oh, awesome, man. Are you up in Byron Bay? John's up from Byron Bay. We've got Hereward Fenton in the studio, who's in the movie, we should say movie, Expendable. And we've got also Carla Cryer here as well with us there, John. Thanks for coming on Radio Skid Row.
Oh, no problems, Jack. Hi, Carla, and hi, Herod.
Yeah, hi, John.
Hi, John.
Now, look, you've been a good activist for this, for Schapelle Corby. The stuff that you've been putting on Facebook, but other things are putting out to the media, the politicians and all that. How's the response been going since the movie has come out, which has been about the last couple of weeks, I think?
Yeah, that's right. Well, I mean, pretty much the response from any of those pages has been a big fat zero.
The ones that you put on for John Howard and all those guys.
Yeah, I mean John Howard, Julia Gillard, Kevin Rudd, ABC News, SBS, 9, 10, 7, Sunrise, The Circle, Alex Jones. I was curious about Alex Jones to see whether we'd get a reply from him, but he hasn't come back to us at all yet, which makes me wonder more about him all the more.
Well, I tried to interview him 4 years ago, but he never responded back.
Yes.
I've never had any luck getting through either.
What's been really, really good though is the amount of other people that have also jumped on this. There's a lot of very good friends that I've made through Facebook over the last year or two now, and in the last week or two particularly, there's been people, not just myself, without me on my own I couldn't do it. Others, Michelle, Gavin, and that's just a couple I can name. There's countless more that have been working hard and putting comments and backing us up. Robin, another one. And it's interesting because it's the response you're getting from other people that haven't looked at the film but yet want to give a judgment or a decision or an opinion. And it's like, well, how can you honestly be a critic of a film, whether it be a blockbuster in the cinema, and talk to someone about it with any real degree of education or knowledge if you haven't even looked at it?
It's like when people put up posts or read stuff and they just see the headlines and that's it.
Well, that to me shows you the level and nature of programming that we've been
been dumbed down.
So how is it for you to have this lack of response? Where does that leave you? From I guess the people who can effect some sort of action are just not responding. So where do you go with that?
It will, because we just keep doing it.
You just.
John, I've actually got some stories to tell as well. Because I wrote a really nice article. Actually, nice is not the word to use, but it's a well written article, which I was promised would be published on a News Limited publication called thepunch.com.au. And sorry, are you still there?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah. So I just heard a wee woo. I thought maybe you dropped out. So this article that I wrote was I was promised that it would be published on thepunch.com.au, and I submitted it to them. They said it was a great article, and it goes into a lot of the detail about, it's actually mainly an expose of Eamon Duff's book, Sins of the Father, which is a slur against Schapelle Corby's father, and it's full of misinformation. It's full of facts that are essentially lies that have been refuted by other facts. And Eamon Duff is a Fairfax journalist who's, supposedly an investigative journalist, and he hasn't done his homework. It appears that he's really just spreading propaganda, and that the fact that he got the book published by Allen and Unwin, again, it's really a fictional book. It's a sort of a fictionalized story based on his dramatization of this guy Malcolm Macaulay's relationship with Mick Corby, Schapelle's father. Now, recently, a friend of Malcolm Macaulay has come forward, and he's actually on the Expendable Project website now, who said Malcolm Macaulay didn't even know Mick Corby. Like, they didn't even know each other. Eamon Duff has written this book based on this fictional relationship between Malcolm Macaulay, who's a small-time drug dealer who did a couple of years in prison, and Mick Corby. And the whole thing is just so ludicrous. But anyway, I wrote my article back in December, and I put a whole lot of really good information in it, submitted it to the Punch. They said it's a great article. They said we're going to just have to run it through our lawyers, and they hung on to it for a couple of weeks, and I kept calling them, and they said, yeah, no, it's a really good article, we're going to publish it. And then, I could tell something funny was going on because they weren't getting back to me, and then I finally called them again, to say what's going on, and they said, oh, look, we're going to have to pass on this one. And no reason really was given. They said, oh, it's too long. They said your article's a bit too long.
They just don't like you, Herwood. You stuffed them up with the 911. He stuffed them up with the 911. Herwood did a post for the Punch on 911. He was working for the Murdoch branch, and isn't it funny that he did an article how to be a 911 truther, and a few weeks later he gets the boot.
No, but there's like an intense determination not to let anything through.
On your show a couple of weeks back, wasn't it? And as he said to you then, it's to control the media, you're 2 phone calls away. We've got what, 2? Is it Fairfax and what was the other one?
Yeah, Fairfax and News Limited. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, and I mean, so if you want to control what's being put out there, and a classic example of that for me was in the film when it was proven that ABC were needed to apologise, and they announced it at prime time with maximum viewing, and when they apologise, it's nestled in that prime time of 4 a.m. in the morning, the prime time slot.
Now, Carla, do you know much about the Schapelle Corby thing?
No, but I mean, it's obvious I've read Herwood stuff on Truth News, but I mean, there's obviously a really, really intense determination to kill any kind of opening of this case or any kind of consideration of it, on all levels, everywhere.
Well, it'll expose a lot of people in high places, which would make the whole situation of the system a bit funky.
Yeah.
And so that's why this is where you're saying that the media is owned. But look, there on the alternative media, there's people like 36 questions you should ask about the Schapelle thing. One is why were Schapelle's bags 5 kilograms overweight on the Qantas system when she checked in without excess charge of $175? I mean, there's those. When did you pick this up, John? When you sort of you realise that this is just corruption at its best.
Well, I mean, I moved to Australia in 2005, so this whole case was actually kind of in the process at the time, and a few months later, and I didn't know much about Schapelle at all at the time, and so naturally at the time I was just reading what I was reading in the papers and getting this story of some girl that's